Right, everyone, it's just turned 20 past, so I think I'll start now. So firstly, good evening to everybody, and thanks for joining us here. And welcome to the CAO Virtual Open Evening for the Bachelor of Joint Honours Programme at DCU. So we're thrilled to have all of you here today, and hopefully you'll gain a great insight into the Joint Honours Programme that we have on offer here in DCU. So my name is Ruth. Firstly, I'm currently in my final year of the Joint Honours Programme, and I'm studying law and French. So firstly, I'm going to be taking you through a general overview of the programme as a whole and the different subject choices that you have. And then Sherwin, who is another Joint Honours student, is going to be taking over then and giving you a bit more of a detailed look at one of our degree options. And he's also going to go through his experience of the work placement opportunities on the Joint Honours Programme, and then finally give you a bit of an insight into the different career opportunities that are available with this degree. We'll leave a bit of time for questions at the end, but feel free as we go along just to pop any questions that you have into the chat function, and myself or Sherwin will get back to you on them. So anything that kind of pops up through the course of the presentation, feel free to pop any kind of questions that you have. So firstly, looking at why would you pick DCU? So our standout reason is our incredible graduate employability rate. So 96% of DCU graduates are either in employment or further study 6 months after graduation, making us the first in Dublin for graduate employment and the second highest in the country. And we're also very proud to be ranked in the top 200 of world university rankings for graduate employability. And also on this, we're very proud to be ranked among the top 400 universities in the world in the 2025 Times Higher Education World University Rankings, which is a fantastic achievement for a university as young as DCU is. So now kind of taking a look at our Bachelor of Joint Honours. I know this can be quite confusing for a lot of people because we actually have 5 different CAO codes and courses, and this depends on the kind of choice of subjects that you want. Do not worry at all. I know this can be confusing. I will be taking you through each one individually, and it's very important to kind of note down which ones apply to you. So keep an eye out for the different subjects that you're interested in. And even if you're confused still going through them, pop any queries that you have in the chat, and myself and Sherwin will get back to you on them. But before we get into that, look at a little bit why you might want to study arts. So the programme offers you the opportunity to gain a kind of a broad knowledge of 2 different subject areas. So putting myself kind of back 5 years ago into your shoes when I was filling out the CAO, it was definitely very intimidating for me. I didn't really have a kind of set thing that I was interested in or that I wanted to study. I loved French in school. It was by far my best subject, but I also was interested in law and was kind of considering qualifying as a solicitor or a barrister. So that's kind of why the course stuck out to me, because it gives you the opportunity to study both subjects equally throughout the 3 to 4 years of your degree. So rather than kind of have a major and a minor, you get to kind of have equal opportunity to develop in both of your subjects. And it just makes it a bit easier for me because I didn't know if I'd want to pursue law or maybe if I'd want to pursue French in the future. So for me, it like really leaves you with like an open kind of skill set when you're graduating from this degree. If you want to pursue further study in a certain area, or if you want to pursue a career in a specific area, you get an equal amount of knowledge in each of your subjects. So that's kind of the reason why I picked it. And in addition to kind of the subjects and experience that you get, you also develop skills that are transferable to kind of any set of careers, such as critical thinking skills, that you develop your ability to do research, your presentation, performance skills, your kind of general communication skills. And then obviously dependent on the subjects that you're interested in, it developed your language and your numeracy skills then as well. And this is a focus for DCU throughout all of our programs. So it really focuses on giving you skills that not only help you kind of in your education side of your life, in studying and maybe further study that you do, like a master's, but it also gives you skills that are really useful when you go into your chosen career path, regardless of whether it's related to the topic of your actual degree. It just gives you a really base set of skills that you can use anywhere that you get to go, basically. So now going on to how long the course is. So the Joint Honours programme can be either 3 or 4 years long. So it's 3 years of study of your chosen subjects. So you can choose to go into the programme, do your 3 years of study and graduate with your Bachelor of Joint Honours after the 3 years. However, you also have the option to either take a year abroad, so an Erasmus year, or also take place in an optional work placement in your relevant industry area, which we call the intra-programme. So for this, if you chose to do either of these two options, you will take your third year as either your year abroad or your placement year, and then you'll come back in your fourth year to do your final year of study. And it's worth noting that if you are looking at or interested in the work placement options, that the places are limited and competitive. So you're not necessarily guaranteed to have a placement, but it's a really great opportunity if it's something that you're interested in, if you want to get a bit of relevant work experience before you graduate. I did the intra program and I really, really found it was beneficial, and I'm back in my final year now. And Sherwin, I think, is going to talk you a little bit through his experience with intra and what he got up to that year as well. So now, where are our courses based? So if you don't know already, DCU has 3 different campuses. So we have our Glasnevin campus, and then we have our St. Pat's and All Hallows campus, which are in Drumcondra. So depending on your kind of specific subjects that you choose, you could be based across all 3 of our campuses. But don't worry about that. It's definitely something to keep in mind if you are applying, but you will always be given at least an hour between your lectures if you're spaced across more than one campus. So you'll have the time to get from one campus to another. So definitely shouldn't put you off of it, but definitely something to be aware of if you're looking at your timetable in first year. And it's accessible. We have a bunch of bus routes that go from one campus to the campuses in Drumcondra. So definitely not something to be worried at all. They're in walking distance, but a great thing to be aware of before kind of choosing the course. Now, looking at the dreaded CAO points, they again can vary depending on your subject choices. But as you can see on the slide from the course points from 2024, they're generally between 350 to 400 points. And I can find that this is a lot more accessible than a lot of other universities. I know for myself in particular, when I was looking at law courses, a lot of them can be in the kind of 550 to 600 range. So if that is kind of like an area of concern for you, if you're a bit worried or you're just a bit under pressure this year and you're maybe wanting to have an option that has slightly lower points, but you still want to go straight into university, it's a really great choice for you. Now, in the same vein as this, it's also important to note that if you are studying specific subjects, that there are module requirements for this. So if you're choosing a certain language, you will need a H4 grade in the Leaving Certificate. And that is because the languages are taken at an intermediate level. So it's important to note that you can't go in and take any of the languages from the beginning. You'll be taking them at a kind of, you've already have a base knowledge, you have a base set of skills in the language. So for this reason, you'll need to have a minimum of a H4 in each of the languages. And then also if you're taking media studies, you'll need a H4 in English. And if you choose the music course, you will have a test specifically for music students after registration. Finally, now we're going to do kind of a wide overview of the different subjects that are available in this program, and they're all on the slide here. So from English to Gaeilge to politics, law and international languages, there is a little bit of something for everybody. So if you're kind of undecided as to what you want to study, it's definitely a great course for you. So now I'm going to kind of take you through briefly the different course codes that I showed you before, and this will be a great time, as I said, to kind of note down whichever ones you're interested in. You might be interested in more than one. So definitely take a note of the CAO code if there's something kind of specifically that you're interested in. So firstly, we have our humanities 2-subject combination. So the CAO course code for this is DC009. So if you're interested in English, Gaeilge, human development, philosophy, history, music, geography, or world religions and theology, this is your course code. So please note that wherever there is a dash on the slides, you can't take those two specific subjects together. So you can see human development, you can't take with philosophy, history, you cannot take with music, and geography, you cannot take with world religions and theology. But anything that is on a separate bullet point, you can take together. And Sherwin, who is our other joint honours student, is an English and history student. So he's going to be taking you through kind of more detail of what that course looks like and what you might be studying. So then moving on to media studies, which is DC291. So for this one, you must study media studies, and then you'll be choosing your other subject from either English, one of our 3 international languages, which is French, German, or Spanish. And again, these will be taken at an intermediate level. And then you can also choose politics as well. Then we have law, not to be biased because this is my course, but it's a fantastic course. So the course code is DC292 for those interested. So again, then law will be the subject that you must do if you're picking this course code. And then you can choose one other subject from history, and international language, and media studies. And for anyone who is interested in law and pursuing law in the future, this course will give you and cover all of the modules that you need for the FE1 exams. And those are the exams you need to qualify as a solicitor. And then if you're interested in becoming a barrister, you will need to do a few more modules after you graduate in order to qualify you for the exams for those ones. But if you're interested in becoming a solicitor, this course will give you everything that you need to prepare you for that. Now moving on to international languages, which is DC293. So for this course, you'll be choosing between any one of the 3 international languages, so French, German, or Spanish. And then your other subject you will be taking from either Irish or politics. And again, languages are taught at an intermediate level only. And finally then, politics, which is DC295. So for this one, politics will be your essential subject, and then you'll be picking your other subject from history, law, world religions and theology, or geography. And I know this can be a little bit confusing because if you wish to study law and politics, you're not going in from the law stream, you're going in from the politics stream. But definitely you're not alone if you're finding this a little bit confusing. And if you have any questions, again, just pop them in the chat and I'm happy to give you whatever CAO code might be relevant to what you're interested in. So again, just any kind of subject area of the Bachelor of Arts Joint Honours Programme, it kind of gives you the opportunity to gain an in-depth knowledge and understanding of a particular academic discipline. And it prepares you for such a wide variety of careers and also gives you a really solid foundation if you want to take further study at a postgraduate level. So again, if you're kind of uncertain about maybe what exactly you want to pursue, but you'd love to get a kind of deeper insight into 1 or 2 specific areas, it's a really great option for you. So thank you for your attention to me talking on all about that. I know it's kind of a little bit confusing. So I want to bring your awareness to the Unibuddy platform. So that's what we're hosting this event on, but also to be aware for any students who might not know, it's also a messaging platform. So myself, Sherwin, and all of the other DCU student ambassadors are available on it. So if you search our name or if you search the Joint Honours Programme, we'll pop up either on the DC website. So if you still have any kind of concerns or questions, or even if you're filling out your CAO and you just want to double check that you have the correct course code and that you're all sorted before you submit anything, we will be more than happy to respond to any questions that you have. So don't be shy about reaching out. So with that, you've probably heard enough from me. I'm going to pass you on to Sherwin now, who's going to give you a little bit more of a detailed look about the English and History course and his experience on the intro program. Thanks, guys.
Perfect. Okay. Hello, everyone. Welcome. Thank you for joining in. As Ruth said, my name is Sherwin, and I'm going to take you through a specific part of DC009, the Joint Honors. I'm going to talk about English and history and what it means to do those subjects together. And like Ruth like Ruth, I'm also in my fourth year. It's been 4 years of doing this. I'm also in my last semester now, so that's a bit of a an exciting and a scary thought to think about. So yeah, I'm gonna take you through English and history. What are the specifications of those subjects? What you can expect, what the course looks like, and if you have any questions at any time, just throw into the chat. Okay, so it's a dcu.ie. All right, English, first of all. English is a very broad subject, and it reaches into a number of different academic disciplines, like whatever. There are so many disciplines that it's influenced. For example, philosophy or politics, sometimes even theology. So if you have any sort of interests in these kind of different areas of the humanities, you will definitely find something in English that reaches into those areas. I've definitely found that to be the case in all my different modules. And talking of the different modules, you will cover many different time periods, literature from around the world, and different ideas in literature. And that I think that's the key points in English. It's not focused on any one thing. It's very wide. Um, for example, last year we did a module on post-colonial writing. So this is writing from countries that were previously colonized and their experience of colonization and what it means to be free from the colonial forces. And of course, Ireland came into attention there. The Caribbeans, many different areas like that. And obviously, you get an idea about what people around the world think about literature, how people think about themselves and the environment around them. So yeah, your different modules focus on different things, and then the skills that you develop during the 3 or 4 years studying English, they include in-depth research and analysis, which is uh, possibly one of the most important skills that you will develop in this course. Critical thinking, organizing, and articulating complex ideas. So, like, one of the main things that you do in this course is write essays. And of course, you can't write essays unless you have in-depth analysis of the subject, the matter you're talking about, and you're able to organize all of your different ideas that you get from your secondary sources and your primary sources. Once you learn to like structure them into paragraphs, that's when you start writing good essays, and it's a skill that the professors help you develop, and the tutors, and there's so many different platforms that can help you there. And of course, it's also important in your day-to-day life, whatever area you decide to go in the future, being able to organize your ideas, being able to present your findings in a structured manner, and also to do the research beforehand as well. It's very important. Talking about history now, because I do history and English. History is very, very similar to English, well, I think anyway. There are obviously many different obvious differences between the two subjects, but in terms of similarities, the same level of research is expected in both, whether it's in English or in history. You're expected to be able to do in-depth research. And what I mean by research is in English, it's only secondary sources, which means writings from these critics and professors and these different like philosophers almost. You can find them on different sites. We will show you how to do that if you decide to join. So you look at their ideas and you compare them with your own. Maybe you disagree with them, maybe you agree with them. You see what the general consensus is about the ideas. And it's the same in history when you do secondary research. You're finding out what these other professors think. But history is different to English in the sense that it requires also primary research, which isn't really a focus in English. So what primary source research means is if you've studied history in Leaving Cert or even Junior Cert, is you're looking at sources from the time that's being studied. For example, diary entries or newspapers. And this is very interesting. And it's, for example, this year, I had to focus a lot on the Bureau of Military History in Ireland because I was doing a project on the War of Independence. So I'm looking through all of these different reports given by people like Michael Collins. So like in his own words, what happened, the planning, the organization. So it's very interesting. It's you get more of a sense of um, of what it was like rather than just reading it in a book or reading what somebody else said. Um, History, like English, I think has a lot of relevance to the modern world. Our world is shaped by our history. So I think in that sense, it's very important to understand our history, to understand where we've come from, to be able to predict where we might be going in the future. So you're studying history. You're also kind of studying the modern world in the same vein because you're seeing how is these events influenced our events today. Uh, for another example, this year we had a module on post-war Europe. So this is Europe after the Second World War, after 1945, and it's a study of how Europe was created after being destroyed by the travesties of war. And it's very interesting to see how a country like Ireland, for example, how we came into being in a wider European context. So I think there is usually a sort of an idea that history is like divorced from our day-to-day lives, which I can assure you is definitely not true. It definitely has its significance in our lives today. So I think for that reason, it's very interesting. Just like in English, modules can focus on different periods of history and on different ideas about historiography. Okay, historiography, I know this is a bit of a long word. What that means is the writing about history. So this might be something that you're interested in. Um, it refers to like how we have thought about history uh, up until this point. How have people wrote about certain events? Have these ideas sort of changed? Um, if I think of an example, sort of like the Holocaust. Uh, at times, if you look at the historiography, in the immediate aftermath, there wasn't that much attention given to it. People didn't realize the full extent. And then, of course, later on, in our times today, we know to what to the great extent to which the Holocaust was happening, and there's more significance given to it. So yeah, some modules look at this idea about historiography. How do we write about history? And one module that we did was about fact and fiction. So if you think about these kind of historical movies or TV shows, how do they treat the the event or the time period that they're talking about, whatever it is? Like if it's the boy in striped pajamas, um, are they being very realistic? Are they relying on certain factors to produce a sort of truth about a time that the people who in the movie they didn't live in that period. So you know um, so yeah, very interesting. I think loads of similarities to English, and like with English, you will find something that you will be interested in because it's so broad, history and English. You will you might see some modules that you might not be that interested in. But even if that is the case, since it is so broad and there's so many different areas being studied, I can almost guarantee, that you find something that you find interesting yourself. Okay, so is dcu.ie for you? So this course that we're talking about. Um, Well, let's consider what kind of students do well in this course in DC 09. So if you're someone who's curious about the world around you and you're concerned about all the things that are happening, in your day-to-day lives, in your surrounding, in your environment, not just in your immediate surrounding, but in the wider world, then yes, I would definitely recommend DC 09. Whatever subjects you were doing in your joint honors. Obviously, I'm a bit biased. I'm going to say English and history studies that extremely well, and it does. In English, you're studying about the literature all around the world. History, of course, you're doing the same thing. You're seeing all these different events. And yeah, if you're interested in the cultural world and the different mediums of culture, I think this is also very important. Especially in English, I think a lot of people think it's just books and books and just these great big books that were written 100 years ago, which is definitely not true. There's so many different mediums that are being studied in English, especially. If you're not into just books, we study short stories, novels, excuse me, so many different things. We recently studied ekphrastic poetry, which is actually poetry talking about painting. So there's definitely something there that you will find interesting yourself. Um, yeah, and if you have a desire, I think, to articulate your ideas, I think a lot of us, we walk around with so many different ideas in our head. Maybe it's just me. I don't know. Like I walk around with 100 different ideas just bouncing off of each other in my head all the time. What this course helps me to do is to think critically about my ideas and to present them in a very structured, in a very organized, and in its articulate manner, which is very fulfilling. I love the feeling of like having finished an essay and then just reading back and then seeing how your thought processes, how they change, and the journey from one thought to the other, one idea to the other. But at the same time, you should be able to handle a demanding course that requires a need to be organized. So the thing with doing a joint honors is, as Ruth mentioned, is that you're studying both subjects in equal with equal importance. So both subjects have the same requirements, they have the same expectations for you, and you can't be lenient on one subject and then focus more on the other. So with me, I do have a preference for English, but at the same time, I have to be as committed to my history course as I am with my English course, which means writing twice the amount of essays, doing twice the amount of research for both subjects. So yeah, it can be very demanding. I will be honest at times, but that's something I enjoy. And if you are someone who enjoys that sort of challenge, yeah, I would definitely recommend dcu.ie for you as well. Okay, future prospects. If you do decide to do this course with DCU, there are so many different areas that you can go into. Um, so prospects such as the civil services, so working with the government in whatever capacity, like translation, for example. Law, you could work in law, you can work in media. So that's like advertising, for example. Like the tourism board will always find someone with this degree attractive. You could work with NGOs. So, and there's so much more prospects. A lot of people think that you can only go into teaching, which is definitely not the case. I know people who have graduated from this course and they've gone into civil services, for example. That seems to be very attractive for people. So working with the government. Um, you can also go into teaching if you want to. There's nothing wrong with that. It's an excellent choice. I myself, I'm going into teaching. So my plan is once I graduate after a semester is to do my master's, maybe here at DCU, maybe in a different university, and then to do my PhD, and then hopefully I'll be teaching at a university, so at a university level. So, there's so many different areas you can go into. And it's, like I said, it's not a course that holds you tight into one area or one stream that you can go down on. That you have so many different pockets that you can, try. And if you don't enjoy this, you can try that. And if you don't enjoy a certain module this semester, there will be definitely another module or a different idea being explored. So, it's very broad and it's a lot of space there to explore. Okay, Intra. Ruth talked a little bit about Intra, and she said it is very competitive, but it's also an excellent opportunity that I think everyone should make use of. So what is it? It's 1 year paid internship. So it's a placement for 1 year and you get paid for it as well. DCU will open a portal, and then you put your CV, you publish your CV to these different places, and you do interviews with them, and then once you get accepted, you work for them for a whole year. Um, and the benefit of this is that you get a practical knowledge of how what you're learning in your campus or in your lectures, how do they apply in the real world. Because there's only so much that you can do with theory, and practical work is definitely what you should be aiming at. And of course, Inter gives you the opportunity to experience this. It's also a chance to learn how your industry works and a chance to develop the crucial skills needed to excel in the professional world. So firstly, if you know exactly what area you want to go into, whether it's teaching or the civil service, and then you do a job with Intra related to that, so you have an idea of how it works and what's expected of you, and you can decide for yourself then, is this what I want to do? maybe I changed my mind. You get a chance to feel how the industry works. At the same time, if it's something that you decide, I don't want to do this anymore, I want to go a different route, you still have developed all these skills that are crucial in whatever area you go into. In the professional world, there are certain skills that you need, whatever job that you're doing, and Intra will help you develop them, whether it's being on time, being organized, communication, teamwork, all of these kind of different skills. Yeah, you definitely develop them with Intra, and they're beyond helpful, as you go forward in your career. So, like Ruth, I also did my Intra year last year, and I was lucky enough to go to Madrid in Spain for my Intra year. So that was definitely exciting. A whole year in Spain, So in Spain, I was at a primary school in a town called Arroyomolinos, and my position at the primary school was that of a language assistant. So I wasn't the teacher, so I didn't have too much responsibility over my head. But at the same time, I did have my own responsibilities. I was supposed to engage the students in the practice of speaking English. My job wasn't so much the writing or the reading. My job was to make sure that the kids were speaking English, to help them with their pronunciation and their confidence. And for me, like I'm not trying to go into primary teaching. Like I said, I'm trying to go into at a university level. But at the same time, I developed all of these skills that I know will be crucial to me in the future. So, you know, um, like I said, I would definitely recommend doing Intra because it gives you so many different opportunities. And if you do decide to join this course, definitely look out for Intra. And like we said, it is a competitive um, experience. Not a lot of people get it. Not everyone gets it. So if you can, try. And it's very good for your CV as well, to be able to say, I did a year with whatever company it was, and I learned all these skills. So these are just a few pictures from my placement in Madrid. If you look at the top left corner, you could this class this was my youngest class, as you could tell, because they can't stand still even for a picture for 2 seconds. They're all over the place. But yeah, so I was making sure that they were speaking English to each other, with me and with the other teachers, helping them with the pronunciation. And in my year, I was able to, travel around Spain, see all these different things. We went on some school trips, for example, like this boating trip. We went with the school to, I can't remember the place, but it was a river somewhere in Madrid, and we went to the tournaments and stadiums, and yeah, it was. I was so grateful to have that experience, and I know how much it's benefited me in my course and in my career as I go forward. So that's everything. I hope that was helpful. I hope you learned a little bit about English and history. Why I think that you should give it a try. I definitely think that there's so many different opportunities you can go into, and there's so much benefits to studying English and history, especially if you're someone like me that's passionate about these subjects and these ideas about humanity and culture and our world. You want to do something in the humanities, that gives you an opportunity to explore these ideas. And the joint honors course in DCU is an excellent option because it gives you a chance to focus on two different subjects, and you can make up your mind as you go along which you prefer, which you want to focus more on. Um, but yeah, that's everything. So if anyone has any questions, just throw them into the chat box. Then, okay, do you know other courses I can study in the joint honors with English? Yeah. So I think Ruth showed you that slide where she had the different subject options. There's loads. So instead of history, you could study geography. You could study human development. You can study religion, I think. And I think you could study music. I'm not too sure, but definitely loads of subjects you can study instead of history. I would recommend doing, if you're interested in history, I would recommend doing them together because they are so There you go. Ruth has it there. So yeah, you could study Gaelic as well, philosophy, all of them. That's excellent. So many options for you guys. Human development. Yeah, human development it's about like the psychology, I think, or of how humans grow up. What are the things that affect us? I don't study it, so I can't give you too much about it. But I can tell you that, like English, it has a lot of these different elements of like philosophy, of science, of biology, all of these things. And it's a study about, how we develop and what are the things that affect us as we grow up. Does DCU offer drama? Can you do it in this degree? I might pass that one on to Ruth because I'm not too sure.
Yeah, unfortunately, we do not offer drama as a part of this program, or generally, I don't believe we do. I think the only kind of more creative aspects of degrees that we offer is the music part that you can take in the joint honours program with either English, Irish, or any of the ones that I sent into the chat there. Or we also do a kind of a jazz and musical performance course. But for drama specifically, we don't have a course, no.
Actually, that there is a master's program in drama. I think it's in writing. That's in English. So if you're interested in that, postgraduate studies in drama, you know.
Yeah, perfect. Yeah, so you could even like a lot of the kind of joint honours undergraduate degrees will lead into a lot of postgraduate ones that we offer that might be a bit more specific, kind of like delve into one of the areas a little bit more than another one. And then from Jack, there are law classes for joint honours law on the same time as law classes for joint honours politics and law. Yeah, so basically how the programs work, even though they're different CAO codes, we will have a lot of lectures together. So I'll share lectures with people on international languages who do French. And then anyone doing politics and law will be mixed in with joint honours law for kind of all of our main lectures anyway. And then we'll be mixed together for tutorials. So if you have any friends who are going in doing maybe law and history and you're going in doing politics and law, even though they're different programs, you'll still have courses together. So it's great because you actually get to meet so many people who are doing different courses to you. So it's interesting. I'm sure it's the same for Sherwin, but you get to meet people who are studying different combinations. So it's interesting to see like, the different things that they're interested in versus kind of what people in my course would be looking at.
Definitely, yeah. There's always a mix of different opinions and experiences. It's always good to see how these different ideas, work together. So,
yeah, and
okay.
it's interesting doing like group assignments and stuff with people
Yeah,
from
yeah,
different
100%.
courses
Yeah,
because everyone comes from like a different background or they're interested in
yeah,
something
and they have
specific.
different skills that they bring to the table. So it's always great.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay. If anyone has any other questions, feel free to throw them into the chat box, or we're on Unibuddy. Throw us a message on Unibuddy. We're always happy to help. Yeah, I hope that was helpful. I hope you guys, it's a bit easier for you guys to make a decision now. I don't know. It was very difficult for me. I remember when I was in sixth year, it was a it was a stressful time to say the least. But yeah,
Same. I'm sure changed my CAO a good few times before I started it.
yeah.
Yeah, it's a stressful time, but definitely, yeah, don't be shy about going on Unibuddy and just reaching out to students from any courses, even stuff that like you might not think you would be interested in. If you get a bit of an insight into what that student's experience was, you might find that it's something that you could be really interested in. So definitely go in with an open mind, I would say. But yeah, thank you to everybody for tuning in. I know it might have been a bit of a long session, but yeah, if you have any other questions, feel free to pop them in the chat or reach out to us on Unibuddy.